Hello, everyone, and welcome to a little series I'm calling The Quick Bite. These are going to be a series of my brawl games because brawl games don't generally last past about 20-ish minutes, if that. They usually end about 16, 17, depending on how your match is going. But either way, that's what we're calling this series. And just a quick heads up, of course, this is post commentary, and I believe the next video will also be post commentary. But after that, we're going to be doing live commentary, hopefully, as long as the situation is, allows such a thing. But anyway, in this current match, I decided to go with Zinx because this was played on the free weekend, where all heroes were unlocked and you were receiving, I believe, 3 times Amber rewards. Unfortunately, it was the only day I got to play, and I only managed to play, I think, maybe 2 or 3 games, and yeah. So this one is my Zinx game, and I gotta remember to change the overlay, because you guys can't see my items, or kill count or any of that stuff with this overlay, but that's beside the point. I got to play Zinx. I don't get to play Zinx often. More often than not, I'm actually against a Zinx, and it is the most painful thing in existence, getting plinked to death. I even remember recalling having I wish I was recording that, but I had a game where I was against 5 Zinx, and in Brawl anyway, when you're against any 5 of the same hero team comp, especially if that hero has some form of CC, prepare to be chain CC'd and then immediately dead afterward. It happens with Narbash, where if one thunk lands, unless you have teammates who will block the thunks for you, one thunk leads to another thunk, leads to another thunk. Next thing you know, you're surrounded by a bunch of men beating on drums, and then you're the one being beat. It's only fun to look at. It's not fun to be a part of. And I remember having this game against 5 Zinx, and so one would land her bouncing stun, the next one would land her bouncing stun, and just Zinx in and of herself is not bad. I don't think Zinx is overpowered or anything like that. But when you have 5 of them plinking you with her autos, and I don't know, there's something about Zinx autos that just makes me just irrationally angry when I hear them and when I'm getting hit, when I get hit by them over and over and over because they're building attack speed. That's one of the more common Zinx builds I find in Brawl, and even sometimes in Standard people build the attack speed Zinx, so you get Typhoon and Prophecy, and then whatever other items concern that build, and it's just it is one of the most painful things to have to fight. Even though, on the bright side, hey, she can't heal herself with her right click, but it's dang it, it's still trying to duel her is just so painful. Skill issue, I would say, but yeah. I really wanted to play Zinx. I wanted to do a bit of a funky build here. Again, you guys can't really see what I'm building exactly, but it's a mixture of a little bit of mage items and a little bit of support items with the Cresselia and the Megacosm, and then going with the healing crest. I really hope they don't remove quest. Oh my god. I really hope they don't remove crest. I really like the idea of crest because I remember Smite had something similar to the crest system at one point in time, and then everything else they changed it up because they have issues with it or something like that. And I don't know, I just really like it. I really do. I think crest adds such a unique touch to the game and really allow you to customize to your situation, and the paths on them are fun and poppy, and I really hope they don't remove them. But that's beside the point. The idea behind this build was since I had another Zinx, I expected her to go the attack speed build, so I was okay, I still want to have some more support in me, and I know some people feel a certain way about going full support on characters, but I also find that in a lot of games supports share a lot of items with mages, and I don't think there's anything wrong with building you know, one or two mage items into your support repertoire. I don't think it hurts anything. Because at the end of the day, sometimes it doesn't matter how much extra healing or shielding you build, if your teammates are still getting blown up. Like at that point, it's probably better to just help them, like build whatever, you know, shielding, extra healing shielding you can, to make sure that you can help them try to sustain, you know, post fight, and sometimes even pre-fight, you know. But at a certain point, you know, sometimes as a support, you gotta kind of step up and be like, okay, I gotta help. I gotta start helping DPS. It's not enough. I can't just play Mercy. No shade to the Mercies, because some of them do be pulling out the pistol and, you know. But yeah, so I just wanted to play around with the build, and that's what Brawl is for. Even though I personally don't like the multiple hero change they added, you know, even though Brawl is supposed to be the mode that it's supposed to be a for fun mode, and people still take it pretty seriously with the instant surrenders when you're like 2 points behind or something. But I just wanted to use it as an opportunity to kind of like test out a Zinx build, and I like Megacosm as an item. Megacosm is probably one of my favorite items, because I don't know, I have a thing for like burn items in a lot of games. I think it's really cool, and I don't know, I like slipping them into my builds whenever I can. And so I was like, okay, Megacosm sounds like it'd be fun, because I can apply it on the bouncing stun, and I can also apply it on the pool when that's set down. Which, sidebar, I kind of miss it being a carpet. I know the pool is less egregious, but I kind of miss it being a full length carpet that gets longer as you level it, because it actually lets you clear waves. I know she's not supposed to be a solo laner in standard. I'm sure you can still get away with playing her solo lane. It's just you wouldn't be able to heal anybody unless it's your jungler with your I forget what they label all the abilities at the moment, but like your right click. Your right click basically would be useless to you in lane outside of the passive it gives you, I believe. So, you know, you could technically probably still get away with playing her in the off lane. But either way, the idea was that Megacosm on my Q and on the E, just because, you know, a little bit of burn goes a little bit further. It goes a long way. But obviously that I don't know how well that actually worked. And then after that, I was just kind of like building like normal support items, because I'm still a support at the end of the day. I fully functionally believe that regardless of how you feel about the role of support, you should still at least build, you know, 1 or 2 support items. That's just my way of looking at it. You do you, you know? It was me. And this match wasn't too hard, I want to say. I did die multiple times, but at the end of it, my team was doing the team thing, so it wasn't terrible. Woo. Oh my god. It wasn't terrible. The Sevarog's just made for easy targets. One of them I think had a personal vendetta against me. He would chase me every so often, and I'd be like, no, please stop. Have a stun instead. And a stun he did have. But ultimately, I hope going forward I can produce some more of these, because like again, I don't play. Ever since the multiple hero stacking, I probably only play about one brawl. When I do sit down for an actual like play session, I probably play at least like one brawl at most, just because like there's just, again, it's supposed to be a for fun mode, I know, and I'm not one of those people that takes it seriously, but it's not fun being chain CC'd and not being able to really play the game. I understand the change, but also I'm just like, ugh, can we please revert back? I don't, or like find some kind of middleman. Maybe not allowing 5 of the same hero, like 3 at most, maybe. I think would be okay, but 5? Like, at this point, it should be like a, what is it in League? I think it's like 1 for all, if I'm not mistaken, where like your team picks one hero and like the or picks several heroes, and then the game will like randomly select one of those heroes, and everybody is that hero or that champion. I'm sorry. I would prefer like a mode of the day dedicated to that, as opposed to like Brawl, where like I guess in a way, right? Like, oh, it makes sense that you don't really want to test your build and stuff in Brawl. Simply because the environment is fast paced, it's entirely different. You're online faster, and whatnot, and you should just, go over to standard and test your builds. But a lot of people are very intimidated by standard. There's also a time when you sit down to play standard. There's also a time commitment. You're also looking at spending, the next 30, 40 minutes in a game, depending on who your teammates are and who your enemies are. Because if you have, if you have decent, I don't want to say decent teammates. If you have teammates that are versed enough in the game that they know what they're doing, you're probably looking at a 30-minute match. But depending on the enemies, if the enemies also know what they're doing, that match could easily be 40 minutes back and forth until, that game-changing team fight. Because there's always that one team fight where it's like, okay, we're ahead. It's like 42 kills to 27, and then your team flops that last team fight, and suddenly you're down 3 inhibitors, and your core is 50%. But, I like the smaller, bite-size modes like Brawl, because it really does allow you to jump in quickly, feel out a character without a huge time commitment. Cause I think a lot of people miss it, like when you're new to the game, which I've been playing Predecessor for a bit now, but I did play OG Paragon way back in the day, so I'm very familiar with the core elements, so to speak. But I think people forget that like playing standard as a new player to the game is a huge time commitment. And I know it's like, oh well, if you don't have a lot of time, why are you playing? But it's like, maybe I want to squeeze in a session or two, and I want multiple games as opposed to like 1 or 2 games. Brawl, I was hoping would continue to offer that, and it still does. Again, it still does. It's not like it's not like, oh, it's mandatory that you all select 5 of the same hero, right? Like, no, it's absolutely not. I get matches all the time where people are still playing it like, standard light. I actually think that's what we need. We need a standard light. And I don't want to say, oh, go and copy this game. Like, no, they have to make it their own. But I would love something like a Slash from Smite, which if you're not familiar with that, Slash was just like essentially a combination of Siege, their old Siege map and a Clash map. And like Siege was this 4v4 mode where every once in a while one or both lanes would spawn these big old like siege juggernauts, and then like there was like a buff or something in the middle that you could fight over that would also force spawn juggernauts. But that mode allegedly was not very popular, so what they did was they combined it with another mode called Clash, where that was a 5v5 2-lane map, and essentially, of course, you have left lane, right lane. You had a little bit of a jungle so that the 5th person had something to do, but it was a very like, not very small, but it was like a smaller size, lane. It basically like eliminated mid lane. You had one big buff in the center that your teams could fight over and stuff like that. And what they did was they combined them into what the community called Slash, and it basically just combined both elements. So it was a 2-lane. It was still 2-lane because both Siege and Clash were 2-lane. But instead of the 44 that Siege was, it was 5v5, and the map was slightly bigger. Still had Siege minions and the camps that you could kill to spawn a Siege minion now, as opposed to one just kind of like randomly spawning. And yeah, so I definitely hope that Predecessor has like a small mode like that in the works. It'd be absolutely amazing. Because like Brawl is basically, for all intents and purposes, and I'm using Smite as a comparison because it's the other 3D MOBA on the market, or third-person MOBA on the market. And Brawl is essentially Arena if they took the constraints of God selection off of Arena. So you were able to pick any, the same way how you can pick 5, Severogs or 5 Zinx and stuff like that. And they added that to Arena. Also, keep an eye out because I am going to produce another video on some changes I would like to see in Brawl. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and complain about, oh, change it back. I don't want, 5 Richters, chain pulling me. No. I actually do think there's some really cool changes that they could add to Brawl to make the mode more fun. And just to give you an idea, one of the things on my list, I think one thing that a lot of people probably have a gripe with, is that once you are down to like the last, we'll say 10 points, minion kills should not count towards that. Because too many games end because all somebody has to do is like, if they have a Fae on the enemy team, all they have to do is lob one right click into the wave and boom, it's a win for them, But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed me yapping a little bit. And like I said, this video and the next will be post commentary, and after that I'll shoot for doing live commentary as often as possible. For now, this has been Empress Tiramisu, and this has been a quick bite.